Does height matter?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Definitely,
Yes.
What's like the cutoff? There's like a minimum height requirement.
Well, for me, it's like
What's up guys, Derek, moreplates.com. Today we're going to be talking about the 6 foot cutoff. This is a arbitrary number that gets thrown around a lot, but is presumed to be a pretty serious, superficial threshold that women kind of put on men to screen them out. So basically the rule being, if you know, the highest tier of girls have this cutoff of 6 feet before they will, like, basically to even give you you know, a chance or even evaluate you in any context whatsoever. You have to meet this minimum threshold of height, or else nothing else matters. And you know, this is it's a lot more people think it's a lot more common than it is. However, there is some level of truth to it with a lot of girls, unfortunately. This is just the superficial nature of how a lot of girls think. And in, I guess, hypergamy, part of this plays in with, you know, trying to find the highest level of genetics to pass on to your offspring. And for some reason, I guess height is correlated with, you know, leadership roles and fucking manliness and masculinity and whatnot and power and blah, blah, blah. So some girls do have this, and it's kind of just like you can either accept it and, you know, not get annoyed by it, just like anything else in life, or you can, you know, pretend it doesn't exist, or just avoid those fucking chicks to begin with, because obviously not all of them do this. But, you know, this is a common thing guys really get in their head about, and often it's not really warranted because there's not a ton you can do about it, except for, you know, I know some guys in their teens literally use pharmacology nowadays to manipulate their aromatization, HPTA. Like literally they'll manipulate their feedback system in their body to prevent their growth plates from closing as quickly as they would otherwise, and induce greater levels of height growth than they would have maybe got naturally, which is really interesting. Or they'll, you know, one of the main things too is like making sure you're not too fat. You don't have an overabundance of aromatase expression that's going to inhibit you from basically prematurely close your growth plates because you just like couldn't stick to a fucking diet, which is something like, if I ever have a kid, that's one of the things I'm going to tell him is we're going to teach him how to eat in his teens so he doesn't prematurely close his growth plates, because that is something that I feel like should be common knowledge in parents, you know, like not prematurely stunting their kids' growth by having a, you know, a shitty diet model, because that is something that could, you know, be, if you learn about that later when you're a full-grown adult, that's something you'd really like think back and blame your parents for, in my opinion. With that being said, you know, this video is not going to be about, you know, the pharmacology to, inhibit the feedback system in your body to grow taller when you're in your teens, because most people who watch my channel aren't 14 years old, obviously. With that being said, you know, it was kind of funny. I was looking up the average height, because this is something that popped up in my feed. It was talking about height, and, you know, I guess I get the algorithm feeds me content about self-improvement still, because it knows all the shit I either talk about or was interested in or will watch on my own nowadays. And some of this stuff still pops up for me. And this was the average height for men in Canada, 5'9", is Canada. As far as the United States, it is 5'9" as well, apparently. At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. Like I said though, this is just something that, like, a lot of guys who are not hitting this 6 foot cutoff, like what you have to understand is even once you're in the 6 foot cutoff, you're like, it's a very small percentile of the population. Like, I guess there's like it's like, you know, 10% or less are in the 6 foot or above cutoff. And realistically, you only need to be in the top 20% to really, you know, be competing for 80% of the women. This is like pretty well recognized in the community that, I don't know what the, you know, the community, fucking self-improvement community, that 20% of the guys get 80% of the girls. And maybe it's closer to like 15 or 10, you know, some people are going to argue that, but at the end of the day, everyone has their, you know, shortcomings, no pun intended. So you could be, you know, not that well off, or not as good looking as the next guy, or not as ambitious, or not as cunning or clever or good at speaking, or have as good of a sense of humor, whatever. Like there's no guy who's just like all around a fucking stud, 6'3", jacked, has perfect hairline, hilarious, super outgoing, super charismatic, just like everything you could possibly want. Everyone has their shortcomings, man. So like, you know, for guys to worry about the 6 foot cutoff, honestly, it's the least of your worries, in my opinion. Like you should, like obviously at the end of the day, it gives you a bit of an unfair advantage, I guess, if you are above 6 feet, and it's kind of annoying to some people that this even exists in the first place. But I just want to like really like drive home the fact that it's not like if you're deficient in any category, in these like superficial categories that women will not admit that they give a shit about, but they actually do. They're not gonna write you off if you're like maxed out in everything else, just because you're missing like one thing. Like any girl who has like an unrealistic list of expectations, they're never gonna check off everything on the list. Even if they say they need a guy who does this, 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 and this, as long as you hit like some of the boxes, dude, like you're gonna do very well and do better than most guys. And that's kind of like what this video boils down to. And one thing I did want to mention is if it is something that's an insecurity for you, that's the only reason it'd be important. Like some guys, they're totally secure with themselves when they're losing their hair. So like for them, going bald doesn't matter. For guys that are under 6 feet tall, a lot of them, the height doesn't matter. It doesn't affect the way their outcomes when they're talking to women. Like the only way this is going to really affect you in a substantial way is if you really let it come across and impede your performance or like communication skills because you're super insecure, and it like bleeds through your fucking, you know, ability to hold a conversation and come across as, you know, confident, you know, like everyone, you know, it's such a joke, just be confident, bro. And it's like, obviously, you know, the superficial stuff does play into it. And the more things you have going for you, the better. But I mean, don't just like write yourself off because you're not 6 feet. This is kind of like the drive home point of the video. And there's things you can do. A lot of people think it's stupid, but you know, if people are going to get hair transplants, people are, you know, taking fucking steroids to get bigger. People are doing all these things to, you know, max themselves out. There's no reason you can't just like get a pair of insoles or a pair of, you know, boosted shoes or something. There are a lot of things you can do to kind of like artificially inflate your height a couple inches. And if it gives you it's like a $10 fix, honestly. You get a pair of insoles and that can help a bit. It gives you a bit of a boost in your confidence. And some people think it's ridiculous. Some people think it's worth it. And to me, if it gives you anything, any crutch you can use that makes your mind feel more at ease to have comfortable conversations with women, the crutch is worth it in my opinion. So, you know, some people, they get all fucking weirded out about the fact that women can somehow do like 50 million things to artificially enhance their appearance. They can slap a cake on their face of makeup. They can fucking get hair extensions, fake boobs, fake lips, fake everything. Wear heels that are like fucking 4 to 6 inches in height, but then a guy can't even wear a pair of like 2-inch insoles in his shoes or something because it's, you know, super deceiving. So, you know, that's just not the case. I would just, you know, use all the crutches you can. If you're 5'6" and it makes you feel better to be at 5'8" and you feel more confident, like fuck, dude, like the 10 bucks it costs for the insoles, that's worth, you know, thousands in your confidence, in my opinion. So this is kind of a random one-off video because a lot of people, they really lean into this whole, if you don't check off all the boxes kind of thing, you're fucked, which isn't the case, guys. Like just whatever a woman says, it doesn't mean that's exactly how she behaves. Go by what she does, not by what she says, is the biggest thing I've learned throughout the years. And if a girl says, you know, a guy needs to be a millionaire, needs to be 6 feet tall, needs to dress well, he needs to be hilarious, he needs to do this, he needs to be amazing in bed, he has to have a fucking 7-inch dick. It's like half this shit doesn't play out in real life. Like she doesn't even know, she has no idea like even what that fucking Johnson looks like on a ruler, you know? Like these girls are so like, they don't actually know what's going on. So don't let this shit fuck with your head too much. Just, you know, max out everything you can control. And even if you need a crutch that can enhance one area that you feel you're deficient in, if it makes you feel better, use it. You know, don't get in your head about this shit, and don't, you know, think that you can't do things to enhance your appearance, that women somehow have, like there's some double standard that women can get away with faking literally everything and then you can't do anything to improve yourself because it's weird. So, you know, just be confident, bro. That's pretty, that's not the fucking moral of the story, but just, max yourself out in every category that would make you feel better about yourself is kind of the point I'm trying to make here, because at the end of the day, the way you behave is going to be dictated by how good and secure you feel about yourself. So anything you can do to do that is something I would encourage, regardless of how silly this whole fucking thing sounds. Women are extremely superficial, so you can either, you know, accept it and kind of like integrate it into maxing out yourself, or you can just, you know, write it off and be annoyed about it, or just not care whatsoever and don't let it impact your, the way you know, value yourself inherently. Because it's like, you know, a lot of guys, the way you behave with women is going to largely be dictated by how confident you feel in the value you bring as a guy to the table. So if there's something you can do that improves that and gives your self-perception of worth a boost, by all means. And if it doesn't, then don't do it. It doesn't fucking matter, because it's not affecting the way you communicate. So that's all there is to it, guys. Just max yourself out if it's important to you. That's all I'm trying to say. So thank you guys for watching. Please like, subscribe, check out my blog, moreplates.com. Follow me on Instagram at moreplates_moredates, Facebook, Snapchat, BitChute, Twitter, TikTok, Apple Podcasts, wherever I am. Comments do help the algorithm, so they're much appreciated. If there's anything else you guys want to see in terms of self-improvement content, I guess, like, I don't really cover it too often. This channel largely goes into, you know, like bodybuilding pharmacology, performance enhancing drug use, safer practice, hormone replacement therapy, hair loss prevention, stuff like that. But I think it all ties in, frankly. And this is kind of what I hope my channel to be, an all-encompassing kind of male hub of information that's not the mainstream bullshit kind of like teaching men's fashion, you know, like 50 million times reiterated how to have like wake up at 4 a.m. and like go to the gym, or shit that's like not unique whatsoever. Like, how about you teach us how to grow our dicks, bruh? That's like what the shit we actually want to see, which is information I can't believe I'm the only one who's really talking about, or stuff like, you know, the importance of how you perceive your height, and like, even if it matters to you, how you would go about, you know, potentially addressing that in a cheap and efficient fucking way. So again, kind of a ridiculous video for some people, but for some it's practical, and get a fucking pair of insoles if it makes you feel better is what I suggest. So thank you guys for watching. Talk to you soon.